As the autumn leaves begin to turn and the air grows crisp with the promise of change, the Federal Reserve finds itself at the center of a perfect storm. In a move that has sent ripples through both Wall Street and Main Street, the central bank has taken a bold step to boost the economy mere weeks before a high-stakes election. This decision, while rooted in economic considerations, has thrust the Fed into the political spotlight it so desperately tries to avoid. Let's begin by painting a picture of the economic canvas upon which the Fed is working. Imagine, if you will, a vast tapestry of numbers, charts, and human stories. On one side, we see inflation, once a raging inferno, now tamed to a flickering ember. On the other, the job market, once robust and unyielding, now shows signs of fatigue, like a marathon runner in the final miles of the race. It is against this backdrop that the Federal Reserve, led by Chair Jerome Powell, made the decision to lower borrowing costs by 0.5 percentage point. This is no small matter, dear reader. It's akin to a captain changing course mid-voyage, a move that speaks volumes about the waters we're navigating. Now, let's add another layer to our tableau: the looming presidential election. In any other year, a rate cut might be seen as a routine adjustment of economic levers. But in this charged atmosphere, every action carries the weight of potential political consequences. As I sat in my office, poring over the Fed's statement, I couldn't help but think of the tightrope walk Powell and his colleagues must perform. On one side, the economic imperative to act. On the other, the risk of appearing partisan. It's a balancing act that would make even the most skilled circus performer break into a cold sweat. As news of the rate cut spread, the reactions were as swift as they were predictable. Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic candidate, hailed it as a victory for the American people. President Biden, seizing the moment, painted a picture of an economy on the rise, with inflation and interest rates falling while strength persists. On the other side of the aisle, Republican candidate Donald Trump took a different tack. With his characteristic bluntness, he suggested the move might be politically motivated or, if not, a sign of economic weakness. It's a narrative that plays well with his base, tapping into long-standing suspicions about the Fed's role and motivations. To truly understand the significance of this moment, we must look to history. The last time the Fed made such a move this close to a presidential election was during the tumultuous year of 2008, amid the global financial crisis. Before that, we must reach back to the 1960s to find a comparable situation. This rarity underscores the gravity of the current economic situation. It's as if the Fed has pulled the emergency brake on a speeding train, hoping to slow it down without derailing the entire economy. At the heart of this debate lies a fundamental question. Can the Federal Reserve maintain its independence in an increasingly polarized political landscape? This is not merely an academic exercise, dear reader. It strikes at the very core of our economic system. Trump's suggestion that elected officials should have more say in monetary policy sends shivers down the spines of economists and central bankers alike. It harkens back to a time when political whims could sway economic decisions, often with disastrous consequences. Yet, we must also acknowledge the growing scrutiny the Fed faces from both sides of the political aisle. Recent controversies, from trading scandals to supervisory failures, have chipped away at the Fed's once unassailable reputation. As we look to the future, the path for the Federal Reserve is fraught with challenges. The decision to cut rates is not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about the lived experiences of millions of Americans. It's about the small business owner wondering if she can afford to hire new staff, the recent graduate pondering his job prospects, and the retiree watching her savings with a careful eye. The Fed's hope for a soft landing, that elusive scenario where inflation is tamed without triggering a recession, is more than just economic jargon. It's a prayer for stability in uncertain times. In my years of covering economic policy, I've learned that behind every decision, every number, every trend, there are human stories. As I spoke with experts and everyday Americans for this column, I was struck by the range of emotions the Fed's decision evoked. There was hope from those who see lower interest rates as a chance to buy a home or expand their business. There was skepticism from others who worry about the long-term implications of continued easy money policies. And there was confusion from many who struggle to understand how decisions made in Washington boardrooms affect their daily lives. As we step back and look at the broader canvas, we see a Federal Reserve grappling with its role in a changing world. It's an institution born of a different era, now trying to navigate the choppy waters of 21st century economics and politics. The challenges it faces are not just economic but existential. Can an unelected body maintain its legitimacy in an age of populism and distrust in institutions? Can it balance the short-term demands of political cycles with the long-term needs of the economy? These are questions that go beyond partisan politics. They strike at the heart of how we, as a society, manage our economic affairs. As we approach the election, the Fed's decision will be scrutinized from every angle. Supporters will hail it as a necessary step to support the economy. Critics will see it as evidence of either incompetence or political meddling. But perhaps the true test will come not in the immediate reaction, but in the months and years to come. Will this decision be seen as a prescient move that helped steer the economy through troubled waters? Or will it be viewed as a misstep that exacerbated existing problems? The answer, like so much in economics, will only become clear with time. But one thing is certain. The Federal Reserve, an institution that prefers to operate in the background, now finds itself center stage in the theater of American politics and economics. As I wrap up this column, I'm reminded of a conversation I had with a small-town banker in Iowa last month. You know, he said, leaning back in his chair, sometimes I think we forget that all this talk about interest rates and monetary policy, it's really about people's lives. It's about whether folks can afford to buy a house, send their kids to college, or retire with dignity. His words serve as a poignant reminder of the real-world implications of the Fed's decisions. As we debate the merits of this rate cut and its political ramifications, let us not lose sight of the human stories at the heart of our economy. The Federal Reserve's decision to cut rates on the eve of a major election is more than just an economic move. It's a reflection of the complex interplay between politics, economics, and the lives of everyday Americans. As we move forward, the true test will be whether the Fed can navigate these treacherous waters while maintaining its independence and credibility. In the end, the success or failure of this decision will be written not in the halls of power or the towers of Wall Street, but in the countless stories of Americans across this vast and varied land. And that, dear reader, is a narrative that will unfold long after the ballots are counted and the political dust has settled.